Ding dong, the woke is dead. Which old woke? The wicked woke. Okay, except for Wicked, like the movie Wicked, but that was the last woke movie, or thing even, allowed for eternity. And then I guess there's gonna be part 2, Wicked for Good, which I'm excited about.
Couldn't be happier.
But after that, no more woke. Woke is dead. The woke wars are over, and we conservatives have won. Daddy came home, he took off his belt, and he wrote an executive order ending wokeness once and for all. And I'm pretty sure if you break that law, you get sent to a gulag in El Salvador. No habeas corpus for you. Go woke, go to jail in a foreign country. We're finally free to say what we want again. Woke is canceled, but also being canceled is canceled, which you'd think would mean we're cool with just about anything, but don't worry, we are not. In fact, if you have a pronoun in your email sign-off, I will have a psychotic break. Oh, and don't you dare think about putting up a poster that says everyone belongs, because that infringes on my freedom to hate lots of different types of people. And so no more black mermaids, no more women with small boobs in movies, or at all. No more gay characters in our cartoons or zombie shows. And most importantlyest of all, we can finally rid the nation of this terrible trend of wokeness and social commentary in our beloved horror movies. Finally, horror can just go back to the way it used to be, like in Ronald Reagan's America of the 1980s. You just have a killer and a bunch of girls with big boobs, and the guy would just kill them. Easy. We can finally go back to when America was great again, because there were no woke horror movies in the 1980s, right? Hey freaks, what did you think of my right-wing anti-woke crusader character? I feel like maybe doing some backstory work might bring him to life a little more, like, did his parents love him, and why not? Where did he get that snazzy hat? Oh, and most importantly, how did he get so wrong about horror? Because if you're like me, you know that it just so happens that horror movies especially have always tackled the social issues of our time, even in an era of extreme propaganda, repression, and most terrifying of all, acid-wash jeans. Even during the regrettable reign of Ronald Reagan, horror films still managed to find creative ways to speak truth to power and shine a light on the most pressing and controversial issues of their time. One could even call these movies woke. And so welcome to this video essay about that thing I just said. Now I know you're dying to hear about the movies, and don't worry, we'll get to them soon enough. But before we do, a bit of recent context. In the late 2010s, amidst the release of films like Ari Aster's Hereditary, Robert Eggers' The Witch, and Jordan Peele's Get Out, you started hearing a new term being used to describe a contemporary style of horror film that utilized the genre to examine psychological, social, or political issues. Elevated horror. Sometimes called prestige horror, or social horror, or woke horror if you're feeling nasty.
I am now.
Also, they are super duper pretty. Just some top-notch cinematography and production design. I mean, look at some of this shit. Also, some great acting.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
I mean, it's just like...
It feels like a movie.
Exactly. But any longtime fan of horror movies knows that this is by no means a new application of the genre. As Jordan Peele said in an interview with Forbes, as with comedy, I feel like horror and the thriller genre is one of the few ways, that we can address real-life horrors and social injustices in an entertaining way. The truth is, the term elevated horror was really more of a marketing tool than a sincere analysis of modern horror. Horror films have always been treated as second-class citizens by both the film industry and viewers alike, even though I would argue, and well, am arguing, that the genre provides one of the best mediums to effectively use metaphor, symbolism, and other similarly fancy and artsy methods of cinema and storytelling to effectively explore societal issues. And the history of horror films substantiates this claim, whether it was exploring the existential threat to humanity brought by the nuclear age, examining the paranoia of the Red Scare and McCarthyism, critiquing the decaying rot and callous consumption within capitalism, or probing the enduring harm caused by the legacy of racial terror. Horror movies have always provided us with powerful social commentary. And as the saying goes, if you don't learn from the past, You get this guy. Twice. Hopefully not thrice. Oh, good. Please no, Jesus Christ. And while the backlash to these types of stories is loud and severe, and at times it feels like all hope is lost,
I think that it's being given all sorts of plaudits just because Demi Moore gets naked. You know what would have actually worked? If she had gone back and said, I want to relive my life as a young woman, I want to get married and have kids.
it's important to note that horror filmmakers over the decades have done it before, exploring themes that call attention to the injustice in our society and the practices of the powerful forces that produce and perpetuate that injustice, even in the notoriously superficialistic, consumeristic, and materialistic 1980s, dominated by countless vapid slasher films. And to be clear, I have nothing against vapid slasher films. Some of my best friends are vapid slasher films. The point is, even in the hostile environment of the 1980s, a powerful critique of the omnipresent forces of racism, imperialism, sexism, capitalism, and a whole bunch of other isms was being leveled by the purveyors of the fundamentally subversive art form of horror. And yes, I know there is a lot of debate and disingenuous disagreement about what the term woke actually means. And you know, we could just use the term's original meaning in the Black community, but in an effort to be nonpartisan for the purposes of this video series, we're going to adopt the definition given in court by the General Counsel of the author of the cringeworthy Stop Woke Act, stiletto stomping Republican governor and guy who is never going to be president. Please welcome to the stage, Rhonda Santis. You better work, girl.
Sashay away.
And that definition is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at 8 super woke horror movies from the 1980s over the course of a 2-part series and examine what these movies reveal about the era they were created in and what they can tell us about our current moment and potential future, starting with 1988's sci-fi horror action satire, John Carpenter's classic, They Live. They Live opens up on the horn of a train and the dilapidated remnants of a post-industrial Los Angeles, where we meet our nameless main character, a homeless drifter played by wrestling legend Rowdy Roddy Piper, as he makes his way through the seedy outskirts of the city on his search for a job.
Last place of employment?
Denver, Colorado. Worked there for 10 years. And things just seemed to dry up.
Eventually, he finds some low-paying work on a construction site and befriends Frank, played by mega hunk, apparently, Keith David, who introduces him to a homeless encampment where he can get some food and shelter. It turns out that Frank is experiencing similar struggles.
Steel mills were laying people off left and right. They finally went under.
Yet, while the two men find themselves in the same situation, they have polar opposite views on their plight. Frank has adopted a bitter and cynical perspective about the nature of a system that has created so much desperation.
The golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Our main character, on the other hand, still has faith in the American dream.
I believe in America. I follow the rules. Everybody's got their own hard times these days.
But soon, our hero stumbles upon a mystery that will completely upend his worldview. He discovers that the church across the street from the homeless encampment is really a front for some sort of clandestine operation that is challenging the current power structure of American society by attempting to send messages through the TV airwaves to warn the public about a vast conspiracy just discovered by scientists, that an unknown force has been influencing humanity through some sort of secret signal.
We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness.
When this undercover outfit's activities are discovered by the authorities, a heavily militarized police force shows up to not only disrupt the group's mission, but also completely demolish the homeless encampment. Trying to find answers, our nameless everyman discovers a special pair of sunglasses that, when worn, provide him with a vision of the world as it truly is, run by alien colonizers who secretly live among us and exploit humanity for their own power and profit by transmitting subliminal messages to everyday people. These messages are lulling the human population into a sleep-like state of submission and selfish indifference. With his eyes finally open, our hero makes it his mission to defeat the aliens and reveal the brutal truth to the world.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And this is all, of course, a not-so-subtle metaphor for the innate power dynamics within the system of capitalism, and the methods of control deployed by the powerful to prevent the working class and poor from challenging that system. The edicts being covertly communicated to the population are messages like obey, conform, submit, and buy. Oh, and of course, like and subscribe. The critique of consumerism and capitalism is explicit and in direct response to the rampant consumerism of the 1980s and how many people were being left out to dry. Which is why it's no surprise that the godfather of the neoliberal push to untether and unleash the excesses of free market capitalism during this era makes a cameo.
It's morning again in America.
It's a new morning in America. We don't need pessimism.
Under the leadership of President Reagan, our country is prouder and stronger and better.
There are no limits.
It figures it would be something like this.
And if you're thinking maybe these aliens are stand-ins for the Illuminati, or the Freemasons, or a cabal of reptilian shapeshifters, or a powerful network of adrenochrome enthusiasts, or like Jewish people, the movie makes it perfectly clear who and what we are really talking about here.
What do these things want, and why are they here?
It's in their best interests. They're free enterprisers. The Earth is just another developing planet. They're third world.
Yet, while the overall message is explicit and clearly stated, the critique isn't without nuance. Think about the decision to use black and white when seeing through the hero's glasses POV. It communicates this feeling that the messages lurking underneath the colorful nonsense we mindlessly consume every day are ultimately lifeless and numbing to our psyches. This is part of the magic of the horror genre and its ability to use metaphors to illuminate these larger truths. By equating these alien asshole settler colonial capitalists with the, well, human contingent of settler colonial capitalists here on Earth, in modern day terms, the Mark Zuckerbergs, Jeff Bezoses, and Elon Musk's, who are allowed to amass so much wealth and power, they live challenges the audience. You would revolt if you knew an alien race were doing it to you. So why not when it's just these losers? Is it just because they're not quite this ugly?
What's your problem?
But these skeleton head brainwashers would be nothing without the media. The newspaper stands, magazines, billboards, and the biggest asshole of all, the television.
All the sex and violence on the screen has gone too far for me.
In the mid to late 80s, there was a growing realization that people were getting addicted to consuming television and heavily influenced by the messages within it. Luckily, they were wrong and there was no issue at all with that, even though we all have tiny little TVs in our hands, and I'm actually watching some TV right now. Oh, Chandler, could you be any more of a goof? Oh, and the film also absolutely goes in on the police.
Most of the cops are human. They've been told that we're commies trying to bring down the government.
Showing how the primary role of police in our communities is not actually to protect and serve or to promote public safety, but to enforce the status quo, serve on behalf of the elite, and protect their power and, most importantly, their profits.
Why do we worship greed? Perched on top of us from birth to death are our owners.
The depiction of the police clearing out the homeless encampment is eerily prescient in its similarity to things that you can see the LAPD doing to unhoused populations every single day right now in Los Angeles.
This encampment in West Hills was scheduled for a cleanup, but that was postponed after this leaked email by an LAPD senior lead officer was posted by the Twitter account Film the Police LA. It says to keep the operation secret and that everyone will be arrested and all their belongings will be taken away by sanitation.
Out of South LA, where police have shot and killed a dog in a homeless encampment. Let's go to Scott Reif. He's in Air 7 HD. Scott.
Yeah, Philip, I mean, it's a sad story here. We don't know the circumstances surrounding this, but underneath the cardboard there in front of that vehicle, there is a pit bull that's been shot and killed, and you could tell the dog was chained.
But of course, this apparent foresight is not so much prescience as it was a reflection of what was really going on in LA during the 1980s. We just, haven't learned all that much since then. These freaky alien elite also dangle the possibility of wealth and status to social climbing humans in order to recruit co-conspirators in their exploitation of everyone else.
You mean people are joining up with them?
Most of us just sell out right away. We'll do anything to be rich.
You can have a little taste of that good life too. Now I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
Another vital part of this takeover strategy is the effort to turn struggling people against one another, so they don't look up to see who their true enemies really are. This dynamic is depicted by one of the most protracted and glorious fight scenes in cinema history between our two heroes. It's truly so long. There's so many beats in this fight, you think it's over several times. Like they rest, and then they start fighting again. I love it. They are fighting amongst themselves when they should be fighting the powerful forces who are exploiting them both.
Now hold on. You ain't the first son of a bitch to wake up out of their dream.
And I don't think that it's insignificant that our nameless everyman is white and Frank is black. It's part of the critique, because part of the strategy that the wealthy elite have always deployed to maintain the hierarchy of capitalism is to turn groups with common material grievances against one another to prevent them from joining forces in opposition. And they've been doing this since before we were even a country. In 1670s colonial Virginia, a coalition of enslaved Africans and European indentured servants, united through their shared economic interests, joined forces against the wealthy plantation class, culminating in an uprising known as Bacon's Rebellion, only to see a powerful backlash from the elite and the explosion of laws that gave individuals with European ancestry special privileges and those with African descent significant restrictions in order to divide and conquer this alliance, setting the stage for race-based slavery and, frankly, the very notion of race as a social and legal construct in what would later become America. This dynamic took place again during the Reconstruction era, resulting in racial terror, downright insurrections, and ultimately, Jim Crow segregation. And then this divide and conquer blueprint was notoriously used by Nixon and his Southern strategy.
You start out in 1954 by saying by 1968 you can't say that hurts you, it backfires, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites.
And during the 1980s, Ronald Reagan subverted and weaponized the notion of colorblindness to halt the progress following the civil rights movement, while perfecting the use of dog whistles to reinforce racist stereotypes in order to maintain a grip on white voters and sell his neoliberal agenda that exacerbated income inequality while providing huge windfalls for the wealthiest class of owners and bosses.
Maybe they've always been with us. Those things out there. Maybe they love it. Seeing us hate each other, watching us kill each other off, feeding on our own cold f***ing hearts.
It's in part what all these attacks on DEI have been about. DEIA initiatives in the federal government were about providing more opportunities for all sorts of overlooked and disadvantaged groups, which included a whole lot of white people, including veterans, poor people, and disabled folks. In fact, white women were the greatest beneficiary of the program, followed by white men. In essence, it served everyone's economic interests, but it's been branded by Trump and conservatives as a program that gave unfair advantages to black people and every other group they hate, as a way of creating racial conflict among workers so they could achieve their real aim of dismantling the administrative state in service of billionaires. But unfortunately for our alien colonizers, our nameless hero and his smoking hot buddy Frank actually do join forces. And the movie shows the power of a multiracial coalition of working people united in solidarity against the system exploiting them, the greatest fear of the ruling class. But sadly, our heroes underestimate the allure of the colonizer capitalist sales pitch to those willing to betray their fellow working man for a few scraps from the table of the aristocracy.
Don't interfere, you can't win.
The credits of They Live lists our lead character as nada, which of course means nothing in Spanish, which is exactly what the United States of America and the conservative movement specifically thinks of the working man.
We gave the steel companies a break when they needed it. Know what they gave themselves? Raises.
It's just a phenomenal movie, and it's an incredibly effective depiction of the exploitation within capitalism and the receding mirage of the American dream.
They put you at the starting line. The name of the game is make it through life. Only everyone's out for themselves and looking to do you in at the same time.
And if it were to come out today, there is no doubt that it would be categorized as elevated horror. But not only that, it's super woke.
The world needs a wake-up call.
I mean, the entire point of the movie is to, as Rhonda's lawyer put it, recognize that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. I mean, they live, we sleep. And the solution to this sleep is to open your eyes and wake up and see things for what they truly are.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want.
They Live, released in 1988, might just be the wokest movie ever made.
They are our masters! Wake up!
In the 80s, this concept of the free market was being sold as a naturally occurring phenomenon, like a fundamental law of nature, synonymous with freedom and liberty. But in reality, there's no such thing as the free market. Markets exist under the auspices of power, aka government bodies. So the question ultimately is, who does that government serve? The idea in America is theoretically that the government is of, by, and for the people. And yet the system always seems to protect the profits of legal fictions, especially megacorporations, over the needs of the human beings it claims to represent.
Corporations are people, my friend.
And this intrinsic quality of capitalism was supercharged in the 1980s with the rise of neoliberalism. And while this term is thrown around a lot as a nebulous insult and is dispensed so flippantly that it now seems devoid of all meaning, it was basically a shift to deregulation, privatization, and killing social welfare programs.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Which was extraordinarily beneficial to the already prosperous, and frankly devastating to the working class and poor. This change in philosophy and policy gave more power to the owners and bosses of private corporations, and restricted the power of unions and workers. And this worldview was embodied by none other than Ronald Reagan, who touted a trickle-down economic theory that asserted that the more money rich people make, the more that wealth would trickle down to everyone else. Spoiler alert, it didn't. And many sectors of the economy were heavily deregulated, and some state functions were privatized, handed over to the whims of the profit motive, with disastrous consequences. And while the profits were privatized, the costs to everyday people were ironically socialized. The rich and powerful were rewarded with tons of money for rash and reckless behavior, but all the damage they caused along the way was absorbed and paid for by the public at large. It turns out that the real welfare queens were not the fictional black women of the inner city that Ronald Reagan demonized for being leeches on the state, but the nameless rich white men on the boards of megacorporations. And all of these costs to society were being obscured by a growing common understanding that consumption was a virtue.
Greed is good.
And so while we're on the subject of unfettered capitalism and cataclysmic consumption, let's take a look at Larry Cohen's satirical sci-fi comedy horror, The Stuff.
For today, tastes great every way. Can't get enough of the stuff.
With undeniably the greatest opening for a movie ever captured on celluloid, The Stuff opens on an old man walking toward us in the frigid cold at some industrial site, and within mere seconds of screen time, he fingers a bubbling boil of pus-like white slime oozing from the ground, and immediately has a taste, as one surely would, and naturally, it's like the best thing he's ever tasted in his life.
That tastes real good.
And I gotta admit, this stuff is really, really good. And it's a great hand food.
Tasty.
But then, almost instantly, this substance is the most sought-after product in the country. And everyone just loves this stuff. And that's what it's called, The Stuff. It's even got a top-notch marketing campaign.
Can't get enough of the stuff.
The Stuff. The taste that makes you hungry for more. Enough is never enough. The Stuff.
Everyone's eating it, people are fighting over it in supermarkets, it ain't got no calories, and people like it even more than ice cream, which of course does not sit well with the bigwigs of big ice cream. So they turn to disgraced former FBI agent turned industrial spy and all-around unsavory guy, David Mo Rutherford, played by Michael Moriarty, who they hire to get to the bottom of The Stuff and task him with stealing its secret recipe.
You know why they call me Mo?
No, why?
Because every time people give me money, I always want more.
But Mo soon learns that what comes with Mo money is Mo problems, as he discovers the disturbing truth behind the stuff, that it's actually being taken out of the ground like oil, extracted, marketed, and sold by a corporation that has full knowledge of the horrific fact that the stuff turns its consumers into zombie addicts, or stuffies as the film refers to them, who will stop at nothing to get another fix of that good stuff, ultimately transforming them into psychotic and hollow, literally hollow, vessels of their former selves, eventually leading to their gruesome demise. And yeah, so in case you haven't picked up on it yet, this is all a metaphor for the vacant and ravaging nature of the damage caused by the inherent incentives within the supposed free market. Despite being fully aware of the harm it causes, the company selling the stuff is trying to cram it into every crevice they can.
Low in calories, good tasting, and it doesn't even spot.
It's a clear mirror to the actions of some of America's largest and famously damaging industries, like tobacco companies who long knew that cigarettes cause cancer and yet hid that information from the public in order to continue making a profit. Or how oil companies knew about the impact of fossil fuels on climate change for decades, yet hid that fact so that they could continue making money. And of course, you can draw a parallel to our food system that subsidizes things like corn in ways that ultimately hurt our health but avoid scrutiny because they turn a profit for shareholders. The corporation peddling the stuff has even tested its effects on the population, completely decimating entire communities. It makes me think of the role of the CIA in the explosion of crack in our cities, or more recently, the role of pharmaceutical companies in the opioid epidemic. The film exposes how all of us consumers can get so addicted to our lifestyle of tasty little treats that we allow all of this corrosive corruption to continue, even as the system turns us all into empty husks.
How's the food, sweetheart?
Where's the stuff?
This movie is super campy, by the way, and maybe definitely over the top, but that's actually what's good about it. It uses the same vocabulary and cheesy visuals and tropes of 1950s era B movies that were also probably woke, but that's for a different video. The film subverts these tropes and uses satire to make some deft observations about capitalism and why our political leaders and our government are ill-equipped to confront the dangers that this economic system presents.
Let go of it, Mr. Rutherford. Can't stop it.
For example, there's the case of Chocolate Chip Charlie, played by SNL alum Garrett Morris.
You're Chocolate Chip Charlie! Well, I sure as hell ain't the Kentucky Colonel.
A self-made entrepreneur struggling to compete in a world dominated by massive corporations.
I'm trying to find out something about the sons of bitches who stole my company out from under me and threw me out on my beautiful black ass.
Chocolate Chip Charlie is a clear reference to the real-life Wally Amos, the founder of Famous Amos Cookies, who started a successful business from humble beginnings, only to lose it all to the mega corporations who screwed him over and profited off of his life's work, leaving him in financial ruin. The inclusion of this character and his terrible fate is an example of how the fundamental power dynamics inherent in capitalism always favor the largest players in the game at the expense of the little guy, a clear indictment of the false promises of the American dream. And the B-plot of this movie reveals another theme, the pressure to conform to the identity of a consumer.
Thought you loved this house, Jason. That's why we bought it.
What about your new room? We got you everything you asked for.
Are we asking you for so much?
You see, there's this little kid, played by Scott Bloom, who sees the stuff for what it truly is, gross and freaky slime.
Don't eat that.
There's nothing wrong with it. I had some last night.
But his family is harassing him to stuff his face with the stuff.
Supposed to eat it, that's all you eat it. Eat as much of it as you can, and you keep eating it.
Now you stay in your room until you finish that. Then you can become a part of the family again.
Enough is never enough with the stuff.
Here, Jason, take some.
The protagonists in this film are all unlikely heroes. The shifty swindler engaged in corporate espionage.
$1,000 bills? I don't have to eat the stuff, though, do I? I really would like to leave that to the stuffies.
Meets up with the woman who spearheaded the marketing campaign for the stuff before knowing the dangers.
It's not your fault.
It is my fault. I invented the whole campaign that made it so popular.
The kid who liked the stuff. And a conspiracy-addled right-wing militia group.
We're gonna tell the public what this stuff can do.
There are no institutions or movements or government entities with enough power or will to stand up to the horrific degradation of society taking place in front of everyone's eyes.
I don't understand why you didn't go to the Food and Drug Administration.
Well, for one reason or another, right after it was approved, most of those involved resigned. They're either out of the country or on vacation.
Or they had been paid off. That is the American way, you know.
That's right. Corporate capture of public functions ostensibly designed to protect the health and safety of the citizens that fund it is, in fact, the American way.
Today, I'm pleased to make the largest deregulatory announcement in U.S. history.
I thought there was some government regulation that requires them to reveal the contents.
They're protected by the FDA Statute of Identities rule. The same law protects Coca-Cola. Secret formula for their syrup?
You see, the people who are supposed to regulate its safety to the public at the FDA are all corrupt insiders.
Now, if there is no reason to forbid the use of a product, then we have to okay it.
This guy's such a stuffy, he even got his dog hooked on it. Don't get any ideas, Daisy. Oh. Daddy don't got money for all that stuff. So Mo has no alternative but to partner with the only outfit with shared sympathies he can find, a racist right-wing militia group steeped in conspiracy theories. Also, you know, they have guns. So Mo essentially has to trick them and play on their irrational fears in order to get them on board in the fight.
You were worried about the commies putting fluoride in our water system. Now, you know, there's a thing going on now that's a lot worse. A product is being sold now and it's being consumed by tens of millions of people. And it contains a mind-affecting drug in it. Their headquarters, they're less than 100 miles from here. Sons of
Now, I don't think this is so much an endorsement of far-right militias as it is an indictment of the fact that there was no robust option on the other side successfully opposing these powerful forces.
What about Ralph Nader or somebody
I got
like
a bad
that?
name with him, too.
During the 80s, any liberal or leftist alternative having been routed by Reagan was incapable of effectively challenging the status quo. It reminds me of some of the themes in Naomi Klein's book, Doppelganger, where she talks about how part of the reason right-wing conspiracy culture is able to thrive today is because of the absence of a prominent structural critique from the left. And this failure creates a narrative vacuum where anti-vaxxers are the loudest voices challenging Big Pharma, or QAnon can feel like the primary force challenging the wealthy elite, even if, paradoxically, these conspiracy theories actually ignore the real structural problems and only serve as a way to maintain those power structures. It's also notable that the stuff came from within the Earth itself, standing in for any number of natural resources that humans destroy the Earth to get and that harm humans once used. But in the stuff, it feels like the Earth's revenge on the humans that are trying to destroy it. Like the Earth fighting back by weaponizing the very human behavior and philosophy that has threatened the planet is actually some whole next-level storytelling shit. Capitalism threatens the Earth, and so the Earth uses the incentives of capitalism to get revenge against humankind. Rad.
It's called the stuff. And believe me, enough is never enough.
And to put this all in context, this movie came out just a few years after Reagan removed solar panels from on top of the White House. It was the height of consumerism, and an era that increasingly gave more and more power to large corporations over our lives, with ever-diminishing government oversight into the risks to health and safety imposed on the public, and the Earth itself. And modern Republicans have followed this tradition, making mass environmental and human destruction one of the central tenets of conservatism, gutting the Endangered Species Act, or subsidizing fossil fuels, or rolling back regulations on forever chemicals, all to serve corporations' bottom lines. And, of course, destroying the very government bodies supposedly put in place to protect public health. This movie is a scathing rebuke of neoliberalism, and the danger of prioritizing profit over human beings and the big rock that we all live on. It's also a really dumb movie about slime. Oh, and don't count the ice cream execs amongst our heroes, because as soon as the people pushing the stuff collapse, our ice cream elite are ready to drop their slightly modified version of the same essential product.
The stuff is finished, of course, but look here. Look at the new campaign for the taste.
Of course, this whole mess didn't start in the 1980s. The seeds of this diseased forest of weeds have been planted throughout history. And in the same way we're looking back to the past for lessons, filmmakers in the 80s were peering into the past at other times in American life to provide insight into the socio-political dynamics of the world they lived in. And so, of course, I'm talking about the commercial bomb and much maligned Bob Balaban directed satirical horror comedy, Parents. Parents begins as the Laemmle family arrive at their new home in the suburbs of California during the peak of 1950s classic Americana. We're talking Leave It to Beaver kind of business. The Laemmles are the perfect young American family. Dad, played by Randy Quaid, goes to work at the plant to provide for the family, while Mom, played by Mary Beth Hurt, stays at home and takes care of the household. They're just like any parents. Dad likes golf, Mom likes baking cakes, they love doing the cha-cha, solving puzzles together, and of course, grilling their bloody and succulent meats. But 10-year-old Michael, played by Brian Medorsky, is a little bit different. You see, he's not quite the good little boy he should be. He doesn't fit in, he's quiet and odd, and says dark and bizarre things at school.
If you take a black cat and broil it on the oven, and you peel off the skin of the bones and take it off, and you chew on the bone, you'll be invisible. You're so weird.
And he's been having terrible nightmares. Just like the worst nightmares. I mean, just look at these nightmares. Horrible. And he won't eat his dinner, much to the chagrin of his parents.
Eat your meat.
Won't you try just a bite?
And to make matters worse, Michael's acting out, getting into mischief with a friend and drawing disturbing pictures at school, even mucher to the chagrin of his parents, especially Dad.
You don't look like me, you don't act like me. You hate me. Well, you know what? I'm not so crazy about you either.
And to make matters even worser, Michael is growing increasingly suspicious that his parents are secretly up to something nefarious. He stumbles in on them doing something naughty, they're always acting weird and creepy, and they're always trying to feed him disgusting meat. And this suspicion is proven correct when he discovers that his parents are actually secret cannibals. And even worsest, they want him to take part in the family tradition.
I'm sure you'll acquire a taste for it. Your mother did.
I learned to love it.
Well, Manboynice, you say? That all sounds like a typical story of a boy learning that his parents are cannibals.
We people.
Where's the social commentary in that? Maybe we should call you Manboy wrong and dumb. Well, it just so happens, parents is an allegory for the barbaric inhumanity under the shiny facade of American life, and the pressure put on those who don't conform to the status quo.
See, Michael, we have to fit in.
By using cannibalism as a metaphor, the film exposes the cruelty of the systems undergirding the American dream: patriarchy, imperialism, and conservatism. One of the main ways these ideologies are able to attain and sustain their status as the default social and political paradigms is by obscuring the harm they cause by hiding in plain sight. For example, initially Dad's job is super vague. Michael doesn't even know what he does for work.
What does your father do for a living? I don't know.
He wears a tie and clocks in at the chemical plant, presumably doing regular dad work stuff. Par for the course, super normal, status quo.
How do you know what your father really does all day? He goes to the plant. Yes, but how do you really know?
But when Michael visits his dad at work, our little hero learns that there's more to Dad's job than meets the eye.
Now, you take your standard jungle outpost. Our planes fly over and drop a concentrate of this stuff.
And then what happens?
Your first light rainfall, and the catalyzed resin goes to town. 48 hours is jungless mulch.
So yeah, Dad's seemingly innocuous job at the plant is actually pretty f***ing evil. He's a cog in the military-industrial complex, engineering chemical weapons designed to turn enemy combatants into human sludge. And this work is casually compared to the wondrous possibilities afforded by the fundamental nature of free market capitalism.
Did you know that if I took the exact same chemicals that make up this pen and recombined them, I could make, I don't know, an automobile? The whole world is made up of chemicals, Mike. You can make anything with them. But if you're smart, you'll make opportunities.
Designing weapons of mass destruction is just another opportunity to them. As innocuous as designing a pen, an automobile, napalm, it's all the same. Anywhere there's a market and someone willing to buy, there's an opportunity in America. By the way, today's video is brought to you by Ned's Nerve Gas, America's most trusted way to cause cataclysmic organ failure in your enemies. Use promo code KILL to get 50% off this month only. That's promo code KILL and join the fun today. The cannibalism of Michael's parents is used to illuminate these sadistic systems operating within American society. The human flesh that Dad and Mom regularly consume comes directly from the cadavers that are being used to test the effects of Dad's chemical weapons. But the key is, all of this savagery is out of sight. Business as usual. We just don't talk about it.
What are they doing? Changing. They change when they're alone.
At one point, Michael's dad warns him that people are always watching him, and that the first law of survival is to not let them.
It's the next best thing to being invisible.
And the goal of this behavior is to evade detection.
You can be yourself in the dark.
So that you can continue getting away with the harm you are causing.
Daddy had this really nice division manager. Went out every day, stole cars, came home, and beat his wife.
This is why Michael's nonconformity is such a threat to his family. After all, parents are an innate symbol of authority, and so they are kind of the perfect metaphor for the power structures that quell dissent.
I can't tell you.
Yes, you can. You don't have to be afraid, Michael. You can tell me.
They won't let me. They hear everything.
Who, Michael?
My parents.
Michael is calling too much attention to himself, and in turn, the heinous harm their lifestyle is causing, and so he needs to be intimidated into submission. Always do as Papa says.
This is a story about a boy. A very naughty little boy, about your age, who thought he was better than everyone else. So he played where he wasn't supposed to play, and he destroyed other people's private property.
That private property line just kills me. Like, why is protection of private property the most important thing to teach a child, according to this conservative freak who is creating weapons of mass destruction and literally eating people?
Eat your dinner, honey.
No, thank you.
Your son, the vegetarian.
And yes, while the politics in this film are largely contained in the subtext, the Laemmle family is clearly conservative coded, especially when contrasted with the hooky-booky, proto-hippie depiction of Michael's school counselor, played by Academy Award winner Sandy Dennis. In addition to her messy desk and flowy serape kind of outfit, she is emotionally available and concerned with Michael's actual feelings.
Michael, don't be afraid. Nothing's going to happen to you.
She feels like a portrayal of liberalism and thus an inherent threat to their cannibalistic credo. And her concern for Michael's well-being is ultimately what causes her to uncover the Laemmle family secret. And therefore, she must be eliminated.
Plate.
Her free-spirited eccentricity, openness, sensitivity, and empathy serve as a stark contrast to the choreographed presentation, closed-off rigidity, and emotional repression of the Laemmles. Repression being a trait that is particularly present when it comes to Mom.
This iced tea is making me giddy.
Because it is clear throughout the movie that Mom is uncomfortable with the harsh method of discipline that Dad is using to frighten Michael into conforming.
And do you know how this made his parents feel? Do you?
I don't think that this is the way. You're scaring him.
Am I? Am I?
She's also a victim of the system in a way, indoctrinated to obey the rules of the patriarchy.
I learned to love it.
Her feelings and her opinions are repressed, and her agency is constrained by the hierarchy.
I don't think that's true.
I think it is.
Dad's extreme methods of control are ultimately too much for Mom.
Nick.
We'll have another one, Lily. We'll bring him up right.
And she springs into action to protect her son, only to be struck down by this fatherly fascist. I think the setting of the film also plays a large role in the critique. The 1950s, a time of intense racial discrimination, unchallenged anti-communist militarism, and aggressively ingrained patriarchy and misogyny.
You know, they say a woman's place is in the home, and I suppose as long as she's in the home, she might as well be in the kitchen.
Which is why it was so appropriate to come out in the 1980s, a time of, well, all those things I just said. For example, in the 1980s, the US was quietly intervening in Central American conflicts against left-wing movements, resulting in horrific crimes against humanity, death squads, and massive bloodshed. But this intervention was largely kept from the public and conducted in secret by the CIA and also illegally, most notably in the Iran-Contra scandal. You see, there was a reason that Reagan adopted the campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again," and then another weird guy more recently.
Trump? You led Trump, Gladys?
The 1950s is the era they want to return to. Minus, of course, the tax rates on the rich, the levels of union membership, etc. And it's worth noting the differences between the depiction of conservatism in the 80s versus today. In the 80s, conservative ideology thrived through its use of dog whistles, while today, they are saying the quiet part out loud using hate-powered foghorns. I don't know how they got the technology.
The whole world is made up of chemicals, Mike. You can make anything with them.
Ultimately, parents' most poignant critique comes from making the viewer feel that feeling of being a kid and starting to discover that parents were doing things they weren't telling us about. That stabbing fear that something was deeply scary about our world. And even though your parents may tell you there's no such thing as monsters,
Don't be afraid. You're safe.
you can't escape that realization that society is built on the monstrous acts of humanity itself. Parent serves as a time capsule of the right-wing strategies for perpetuating systems of dominance and bearing the consequences in the performative politics of tradition and decorum. A lot of the ideas within conservatism, imperialism, and the patriarchy are just as ubiquitous as a seemingly loving parent trying to make sure that their child eats their dinner before going to bed. So while parents expose the ravenous nature of some of the most influential macro systems within our society, drawing a parallel between the idealized era of the 1950s and the shallow optimism of the 1980s, the next film focused in on the role class plays in shaping our society. You see, the cruel and insatiable disposition of the 50s or the 80s towards inequality and violence is not even a unique innovation of capitalism per se. It is a vestigial remnant, or in layman's terms, leftover bullshit, from our torrid and much more ancient past that has survived almost every iteration of society. Which is also the name of the movie we're about to talk about, the 1989 Brian Yuzna directed horror film, Society. Society starts on a massive moonlit mansion as our protagonist, Bill Whitney, played by Billy Warlock, wanders the halls of his home in a state of frightened confusion. He hears a woman scream, men laughing, and he's generally feeling pretty freaked out here, until his mother turns on the light.
Bill?
Oh, he's just having another nightmare. But why is Bill having nightmares anyway? I mean, he's handsome and charismatic, he's a member of a highly respected family, he's got a loyal BFF and a smoking hot idiot GF, and has a close relationship with his sister, Jenny, who is about to have her coming out party, where she is presented to high society. And he is also apparently a superhuman athlete, considering the fact that he can dunk a basketball and is only 5'7". By the way, this is what it actually looks like when someone who is 5'7" dunks a basketball. Holla at my short kings. But despite Bill being a bona fide baddie, he's overcome by a foreboding sense of dread, as he tells his therapist,
I feel like something's gonna happen. And if I scratch the surface, there'll be something terrible underneath.
There's a part of Bill, sometimes called Billy, that feels like he doesn't quite fit in. Not with the other rich kids at school, and certainly not with his parents.
They don't approve of me, okay? They don't accept my friends. Hell, they don't even look like me.
And his suspicion only grows stronger as he continues to experience weirder and weirder things, culminating in Jenny's creepy stalker ex-boyfriend, David Blanchard.
I've got something you gotta hear.
Showing Bill secret audio recordings that seem to reveal some sort of incestuous dynamic between his parents and his sister.
First we dine, then copulation. Someone your own age first, then with your mother and me.
And with the broader rich and powerful community at large. Almost like an orgy of the opulent, a sex soiree of the sophisticated, if you will. P and pussy pumping of the prosperous, ass eating of the aristocracy, wiener whacking of the wealthy, face fucking of the filthy rich. Whatever you want to call it, it's gross.
What the hell are they doing?
After hearing all this, Bill is like, WTF, Blanchard? He tries to talk to his GF about it, but all she can think about is not getting invited to the big party of the super cool, super rich kid, Ferguson.
And stop worrying about that stupid party.
Oh, it may seem stupid to you, but I want to go.
Is that all you think about? Parties and social status?
Bill even goes to his therapist, and he's like, listen to this fucking shit, dude, and gives him the tape. But the next day, the therapist plays back the tape, and suddenly, all the freaky stuff is gone.
I don't understand.
And now it's Bill whose behavior needs to be checked.
If you don't follow the rules, Billy, bad things happen.
What is happening? Is Bill going crazy? Was it all in his head? Well, when Blanchard turns up dead in an apparent accident under suspicious circumstances.
Look, officer, something is definitely wrong.
Get the hell out of here.
No, you don't understand.
Get the hell out of here.
Bill realizes that he's going to need to face off against the police, the richy rich entitled pricks at school, his therapist, and even his own family to unravel this mystery, culminating in the terrifying revelation that his deepest fears have been true all along.
I am not your mother.
Jesus, Bill. You never were one of us.
Who are you?
His so-called family has been engaged in a Billy's age-long conspiracy in coordination with the other members of the aristocracy.
We'll have that special treat we've been hearing so much about. A wonderful specimen, in his prime.
To gather for something truly horrifying, to collectively consume and devour Billy, feed off him, suck him dry, and absorb his life force in a grotesque orgy of depraved debauchery they call the shunt.
I do love the smell of the hunt and the taste of the shunt.
So where do we even start with this sticky, icky casserole of body horror, cheesy and over-the-top execution, and insightful and poignant social criticism? Let's zoom way out. That's not what I meant, and I think you know that. So not all that long ago, before capitalism became the default social and economic system across the world, most societies in the West operated under a feudal system, a social and economic structure by which kings and queens bestowed land and wealth upon the nobility, who in turn ruled over the peasants, who were required to pay homage to and provide labor and food for their noble lords.
I order you to be quiet. All right, does he think he is? I'm your king. Well, I didn't vote for you.
Under this paradigm, power and status in society was not determined by merit or work ethic, but by what family you were born into. Nobility was a birthright. But as changes in technology ushered in the Industrial Revolution and Enlightenment thinking spread across the Western world, a new and growing class of folks who owned the means of production, also known as capitalists or the bourgeoisie, wanted their piece of the pie too, and spearheaded a series of political revolutions and policy changes that ushered in our current era of liberalism and capitalism. Under this system, in theory at least, all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. And this meant, in theory, and I can't stress that word enough, that society was now a meritocracy, where your success was determined by your hard work and talent, not by your family name. But of course, this did not stop the wealthy elite from entrenching their wealth and power into this new system. Consider the fact that the greatest predictor of whether or not a person grows up to be rich is whether or not their parents are rich.
Just remember, Whitney, we don't lose. What are you gonna do, rig the election or something? We don't have to. Martin Hugh was born to lead.
Because wealth, of course, is an intergenerational transfer. Through gifts and inheritance and connections, wealth is passed down, where it can grow from one generation to the next. And we live in a nation where that wealth translates directly into power, an arrangement the wealthy created for themselves by manipulating our politics.
We may have an internship for you this summer in Washington.
Turns out that family name continues to play an enormous role in determining the outcomes of our society. BT dubs, I'm sorry I'm using the word society so much, especially in a movie called Society, but it just so happens to be the best word I can use to relay what I'm trying to communicate about society.
Society? What do you mean, society? Not here.
So anyway, society exemplifies the power of the family name and the obsession with good breeding by using the narrative device of incest.
We're just one big happy family, except for a little incest and psychosis.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Which simultaneously highlights the perverse nature of these freaks' philosophy, while also being a very real aspect of how many of these noble families were able to maintain and justify their power over the centuries.
Home a little early tonight, don't you think so, Mother?
They kept it in the family, as it were.
If you have any edible fantasies you'd like to indulge in, Billy, now's the time.
It also shows how these lecherous leftovers of feudalism continue to operate within our current system of capitalism. This philosophy is sometimes referred to as neo-feudalism, a belief that there are certain people that ought to have an inordinate share of wealth and power by virtue of their virtue. Virtue leads to wealth, and wealth is evidence of virtue.
I don't know what's going on here, but I don't appreciate it.
And there is a parallel and supporting belief among these circles of bigots and freaks that the qualities of virtue, intelligence, and success are actually genetic, hereditary qualities.
It's a matter of good breeding, really.
And so, ipso facto, those with the most favorable genetic lineage should be in charge of society.
People are what they are.
There is still a very real sense among many elites that their wealth and status is their birthright.
Now, some people make the rules, and some people follow the rules. It's a question of what you're born to.
And it's worth noting that the elite are using a bit of doublespeak when they use the term society in this movie.
You know, you really deserve what's going to happen to you, you know.
What's going to happen?
You're going to make a wonderful contribution to society.
When they say the term society, they're really only referring to themselves, a group they simply call society.
How is our newest confirmed member of society?
You have to learn to accept society's rules.
But to them, anyone who doesn't belong to that inner circle of the aristocracy has no value.
You're a different race from us, a different species, a different class. You're not one of us.
They are not a part of society. They're not afforded any more moral consideration than a cow on its way to slaughter.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would,
This is a long hesitation.
But these elites are not indifferent toward their fleshy prey. They don't disregard them. They devour them. They don't just shun them. They get off on shunting them, which, believe me, is way worse. I mean, Billy's fake parents raised him for 18 years just so that everyone in society can get together for this ritualistic orgy to suck the very life force from his body and soul. That is an enormous commitment.
Anything for society.
These lords and ladies of the gentry merge into a monstrous lasagna of body horror disgustingness to collectively siphon off the essence of their lower class prey, like a mangled network of bloodthirsty greedies. They goon out so hard on sucking their victims dry that they literally melt into a syrupy pile of organs. The incredible makeup design by Screaming Mad George, yeah, you heard that right, creates a downright artistic expression of the decadence clearly inspired by images of the Roman Bacchanalia. And you see this dynamic at play all the time in our real society. Turn on Fox News any day of the week to see their anchors downright giddy when they are engaged in the act of shitting on the poor.
Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
And on a broader scale, our society is not just designed to keep rich people rich, but to keep poor people poor. There is a reason that being poor is actually incredibly expensive. And all this lays bare the sinister lie at the heart of capitalism, that it is a system where success is based on merit, when in fact, there are entire industries designed specifically to profit off of poverty and funnel that profit toward a select few individuals. The feudal system we claim to have moved on from is really still with us in many ways. And the 80s was a time when wealth inequality was starting to skyrocket, a trend that has continued through today.
What's going on? Didn't you know, Billy Boy? The rich have always sucked off low-class like you.
In the climax to society, our hero, Bill/Billy,
Bill, the bastard, Whitney,
challenges his nemesis, the Wonder Boy rich kid Ferguson, to a mano-y-mano battle to the death.
You and me, man to man. Well, a slave revolt.
And it seems that the members of the aristocracy are so high on their own supply that they could not possibly conceive of the idea that perhaps a peasant with inferior breeding could actually prevail in this fight.
Told you, Whitney, we don't lose.
But in this case, Bill Whitney does prevail and gives Ferguson a taste of his own medicine by turning him inside out in an image that I can't show you for fear of getting banned from this platform, but nonetheless exposes the repulsive rot within society. And yet, as he escapes with his middle-class BFF and his new class traitor GF, our society of fiends could care less. They will continue on, sucking the life out of the lower class as if it's their birthright.
It looks as though I may have an opening in Washington next summer.
Whether they're the messages hidden in our media, or the risks hidden in our fridge, the skeletons hidden in our closets, or the inequalities hidden all around us, horror films have always been uniquely positioned to critique structural inequalities. It's almost like some of the filmmakers even held the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. Now, most of the films we talked about today were not particularly successful at the box office when they were released, and yet, Over time, these films all developed some measure of cult status and well-deserved recognition. Maybe you've even seen some of the art by Shepard Fairey inspired by They Live, or run across a sticker with the word obey on it. And whether you want to call these films elevated horror or not, they all provide us with potent insights into the dominant social, political, and economic systems of their time, and of ours now. Our current society exists in the shadow of this era. It was a time where we celebrated the rich as virtuous, hard-working strivers who earned everything they achieved, and denigrated the poor as welfare queens who were leeching off of society and deserved everything they got. And the painful and disturbing fact is, the bad guys are winning. We are in large part living in the f***ed up world that they created for us. We live in a society where the working class and poor are preyed upon by a rich and powerful network of individuals who have entrenched their dominance into every facet of society. They sell us lies while diverting our attention away from their exploitation. They enforce their authority by taking control of the levers of power, like law enforcement or the FDA, the public mechanism supposedly designed to constrain their behavior and protect the interests of the people. But these films also lift up the people fighting back against this terror, against all odds. The struggling workers who decide to join forces against the greedy creeps who are exploiting them. The unlikely heroes willing to brawl for humanity over the craven interests of capitalists. The weird little freaks who defy the status quo in pursuit of what they believe is right. And the strivers who may not have the right family name, but are nonetheless able to expose the meritocracy for the myth that it really is. And all of this heroism was possible because these champions were able to open their eyes, look past the lies and the gaslighting, equivocations and propaganda, and see the world for what it truly is. You get the point. These movies were f***ing woke as f*** in the best possible interpretation of that politically loaded word. But it turns out that the harm inflicted by these sinister systems is not equally distributed among the population. There are some that have been intentionally targeted and designated to bear the brunt of the trauma imposed by the hierarchy of our society. And so in part 2 of this video series, we are going to examine 4 more films from the 1980s and explore the wokest topic of all, the intersection between justice and identity. And get to the bottom of the question, what is with Rhonda's eyeliner?
Sashay away.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much, you stupid little freaks, for watching this video. If you like what we're doing here, press that like button, subscribe, right? And hit that bell notification. And go to patreon.com/manboynice for early access.